We're joined now by Hormazd Sorabjee, the editor at Autocar, who has the pulse of the industry and who speaks with automotive companies on a regular basis. Hormazd, thanks so much for taking the time. I think one particular reason why we wanted to speak to you was because of Maruti Suzuki's latest update about the production numbers and the fact that they will likely only hit 40%. And that's a major statement to make at a time when usually you would have auto companies ramping up production to meet demand. Is the situation getting worse, is the question.
One was hoping it would be better in the second half of this year, but it is getting worse. I think, a lot of the situation is out of control. I mean, COVID is still playing spoilsport in Malaysia, and I think Malaysia is turning out to be the big bottleneck. Now, Malaysia, that's where they do a lot of the packaging and the testing of the semiconductors. So it's a very important part of the whole supply chain. And, even if one link breaks in that or has a problem in that, it has an absolute effect on the entire supply chain. So I think it's much worse than people thought, and this is really going to be a serious problem. And I think it's not just Maruti. Of course, Maruti, knowing the volumes that they produce, to have to cut back so much on production, it really kind of highlights the overall situation that the industry is facing, not just in India, but globally. And I think it's people who manage their supply chains now that's going to be really important.
Just, a follow-up to that. Obviously, now, like you're saying, a lot of manufacturers will likely see production cuts. But having said that, our understanding so far is that the top end of the market would get affected, particularly when you're talking about four-wheelers, because of the kind of chips that they require. So in that context, which segments do you think will do reasonably well, given the current situation?
Well, it's hard to generalize because, each company has its own way of managing supply, the supply of chips. A lot of global companies are going to use their global leverage. Obviously, the more volume you have, the more clout you have with the suppliers. So that's what they're going to do. They might use that to divert some chip production, chip supply to India. So it's very hard to say. But I think one can generalize is that the more high-end cars, which need more chips to drive certain features, technologies, which are more chip intensive, so to speak. Those are the ones which are most affected. And we are seeing that also with car manufacturers kind of sometimes tweaking their trim levels and pushing out vehicles which, for example, don't require so many chips. To give you one example, something like a heads-up display, it's not got too much pull over here from a consumer point of view. It's not seen as a great thing to have. So I think a lot of companies are going to get rid of that because, again, that takes, you need semiconductors as well to drive. So you're going to see companies maybe tweaking their variant, specifications, their variant mix to make the most and optimize the current very, very limited supply of semiconductors that there is.
Sure. Hormazd, Maruti has undertaken its fourth price hike for the year. This at a time when one feels, or at least some of the management seem to be indicating that commodity prices may be actually peaking out. So suffice to say that perhaps this could be the last price hike from Maruti, or for that matter, from the entire four-wheeler stable, or do you sense because of the lag effect, we could see an uptick further in prices?
See, there are two things to this. One is the cost and one is the price. Cost is a function of what the cost actually is to the manufacturer. So commodity prices are going up, but the final price is what the consumer is willing to pay. So that is more strategic. That's more demand driven. Clearly, I think what we are seeing right now, given the crunch in supply, I think manufacturers using this as a time to kind of increase prices, because there is a pull in the pipeline, given the limited supply. People are not asking for discounts anymore. They just want their cars as soon as possible. So clearly, you don't have a glut in the market because of the semiconductor issue. And I think this is the right time to raise prices for everyone. Because at the end of the day, people still want to buy cars, and they would be willing to pay a little more for it just to get the car.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's also talk about the elephant in the room, Hormazd. 4 models from Tesla's stable approved for an India launch. What is it that you're making of this much-awaited entry?
Well, I think, obviously Tesla is the poster boy of the EV world, or maybe even the car world, especially Elon Musk. So a lot of buzz and hype around it. I think they are phenomenal products. And I think when they come, we'll see how different they are to everything else in the market. Fundamentally, because Tesla isn't, let's say a true blue car company. I would say it's more a technology company on wheels. They're kind of where they are with the battery technology, the software, all that is just phenomenal. The car itself, interestingly, don't have the build quality of some of the, let's say, German, European or better car brands, but that really goes to show, the ethos of the company, which is really focusing on the tech and especially the EV tech. Now, I think the current model lineup they have, I don't think the cars are going to be cheap, but there will be a limited demand for them, because at the end of the day, the price will be the biggest barrier. But I think, when they come, they will definitely create some excitement. And overall, it'll be very good for the overall EV movement. It'll just get people more aware of EVs, more interested in EVs. And frankly, this could play out to cheaper models in the to the advantage of cheaper models in the market as well. So I don't think Tesla is going to be doing some great numbers, but what it will do, it will evangelize the whole EV movement.